is already on standby to join us with this conversation. Good morning to you, Modupa Remotobi. How is Canada? Good morning. Can I see? Oh my goodness, good to see your beautiful face this morning. Sorry we had to wake you up from sleep because I know it's still about 3 a.m. thereabouts. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry for the delay. But then let's start today's conversation, outsourcing your capacity. And I want to ask, what does outsourcing your capacity mean in the context of family life? When we are dealing with the family as a whole, what does it mean for one to outsource your capacity?
Okay, so outsourcing your capacity simply means that you are able to delegate certain tasks and responsibility to somebody else, pretty much so that you are able to have some time and also maybe reserve your energy for some other important task that you need to do. So it's being able to identify certain activities that you believe that, oh, this one I think somebody else can do it instead of me doing it by myself. So that's what it means to outsource. So in the sense of family setting, it could be things like probably you outsourcing, maybe you get a somebody to take care of your house, or somebody to babysit your children, or somebody to just, do some other activities around the house so that you have time for some other things. So that's what I would say in the family setting. It's pretty much delegating responsibility to somebody else.
Okay. So I love the fact that you said is that getting responsibility to somebody else in the family and all that. But how can families identify those key responsibilities, that could be distributed, outsourced, in the family to create more balance? We've had a lot of issues when it comes to responsibilities, outsourcing it. This one will say, oh, it's the man's issue, it's the woman, is not acting. But within that, how can we source it and still have a balance in the family line?
I think that's the truth is you need to be able to just identify what the tasks are. Sometimes you can use the hierarchy of things that are urgent and important, things that are not urgent, things that are not urgent but they are important. That there's that hierarchy of rules of responsibilities. Pretty much, you can use that to identify some of these tasks. It could also be things that very much that somebody else can do it, but every time you engage in it, it's just mentally draining. It could even be as simple as, say you have a job on Aleki, and you have to drive, say, from Ikeja or from Ojodubega to Lekki every day. If you have the capacity to outsource driving, get a driver, that drives you all the way. Maybe the traffic just gets you mentally drained. When you get home, you don't want to talk to anybody. You're upset as a husband, and you pretty much know that the reason why you're upset is because of the traffic or the road every day. If you outsource that time to somebody else, if you have the capacity, and that time you're able to use it to maybe rest before you get home, or even read a book on your way home, somehow there's a better energy that you have when you get into the house. It could be that maybe cooking. Some women are not like 100% kitchen people, but they will do every other activity perfectly well. So just being able to identify certain tasks in your home that requires that maybe might not be extremely important and urgent, that does not exactly require your presence there right now. So it could be get a babysitter, get somebody to come, and even some people, it might be somebody needs to do your laundry. Somebody just sort your laundry every day, or somebody to just come and clean your home, and you don't spend maybe like 5 hours a day cleaning the house or something. So depending on what you as a home, you need to be able to identify some of those responsibilities as a family. That what are those things that might, be draining your energy, be draining your mental strength, be draining your, capacity to be able to, be a better individual in your home. You can identify those things, and if you have the capacity, you have the means, get somebody else to do it.
Okay, so I love the fact that you said get somebody else to do it. Now I know. Let me divert a little bit. What if you have a partner who doesn't want you to outsource your capacity? There are sometimes they'll say, "Oh no, you can do it. You were wired." Mostly, let me talk for our gender, women. They'll say, "Oh, women are multitasking," and then you have a partner who believes you should juggle all of this together. In the midst of that chaos, how do you send your message without bringing enmity or division in the family? How do you pass your message to your partner that, you know what, I need a driver, I'm tired, or I need someone to come do my laundry or come pick up those stuff? How do you do that without really bringing a rift between your partner who doesn't really think it's necessary, not because of fine, but just feels like, why should you get a driver when you can drive? Why should you get a laundry person when you can, So how do you pass that message without causing rift in the family?
Sincerely, sometimes it might be quite difficult if you don't have a partner that is understanding, and that's why I mentioned that as a family, meaning that you and your spouse, you need to identify those things that might be causing maybe a mental stress between both of you or something. But if you have a partner that is not understanding, sincerely, I think that you might need to be able to show the person the pros and cons of why you need this activity delegated. Sometimes you might just need to be patient enough for them to see it. Maybe you're not, of course, not patient enough until you are armed, or you are now in a state where you cannot, you really cannot render that activity again. But you need to help them see the pros and cons. You need to be able to justify it sometimes. So, for instance, if you're a lady who maybe cooking just stresses you out, and you feel like I need a chef or somebody that can just, or somebody that just can, bulk cook for me, and then I can now manage myself after I have the bulk meals made in my freezer and all that. It might be important that you help your partner see that it's not a means of being lazy. Say it's not because I want to just go and lazy around and do nothing. It's because probably you have 8 to 5 job, you have to go to work, you have to do certain things, and if I have my freezer full with food, it makes cook food easier to manage. It makes the children, just being able to express the pros and cons to your partner, help them to see the reason why some things are necessary, and why you should, get this activity delegated.
I love the fact that you said some things are necessary. You know the tradition here on the show. Let's go on. Our word of marble will be right back. Please just stay tuned just a minute and we'll be right back. I'm smiling because our word of marble said, do your best and outsource the rest. I think this part of the country we hardly don't really outsource. We feel like outsourcing is for those that have money. My dear, the little one, just like our guest have said, if you know you could get someone to do the cooking for you. We still have our guest joining us all the way from Canada, Modupe Aremotobi, the ever smiling lady on red. She's a brand strategist and brand expert. All right, but I want to ask now, what are those some common barriers that can stop one from asking for help within the family unit? We are just sticking to the family unit this morning. What are those barriers? Sometimes somebody is saying, let me not ask this person, let me there's that layback. But from your perspective, what are some of those common barriers that stops one from asking for help within the family unit?
Okay, I would say that sometimes maybe fear. fear can be a barrier. Fear of being rejected, or maybe people seeing you that, the cultural mindset that, oh, she's a mother, she's supposed to take care of her children, what's she doing with her life, what's she doing with her time. Fear can be a reason why, some people don't want to ask, or maybe as a husband, you're worried that your wife will think that you're not man enough. Why are you asking for help? There's that fear. There's also the you feel you don't want to ask for help. Some people don't know how to ask for help. People, when they are overly stressed, they just feel like, oh, I can do it. They keep pushing themselves, even when they have like passed their limits. Sometimes it could be that you don't trust others to be able to do that job as much as you can do it. Some people will believe that nobody can clean their house as well as they can clean it. I've been in that situation before, and at the end of the day, I realized that you die of stress if you don't let go of some of these things. You need to be able to trust that somebody else can still get the job done. So lack of trust can be a factor. Fear can be a factor. Yeah, pretty much. I think those are some of the, and maybe communication too. Some people don't know how to communicate that this is how I'm feeling, this is what I need. They don't even know that, identifying the help and being able to communicate that you need that help.
Fear and trust. It's true, a lot of people feel like nobody can do their thing better than they do, especially laundry. They want to do all the laundry, then just like you said, you just die of stress. You just wake up one day and discover that all your immune systems are down. But now let's look at the financial aspect of outsourcing your capacity. Now, what are the financial considerations one should consider when you want to outsource your capacity? Because you're having, maybe your salary is not much and you feel like, I can't do the laundry, I can't do the dishes. Okay, let me get somebody that will do weekly or monthly cleaning for me, and financially you are not strong. What are those financial considerations one should put in place when you're outsourcing your capacity?
So it might be important that you put together a budget, know what you need, and be able to put together a budget first. Does it fit into your family expense? Okay. Is also, you need to consider what your pockets can handle. But another thing I always tell people is that there's always somebody that can do something within your budget. So if you have a budget, it's easier to find someone. So maybe instead of getting a professional chef, for instance, to cook your food, there are people that know that, they are also getting into the cooking business and don't mind coming to your house maybe once a week to come and cook. Instead of getting somebody that will be coming to clean your house every day, maybe you are getting the person once a week to do like deep cleaning, and then you do the other things. So you need to consider your budget. What's your pocket saying? What's the capacity of your budget? Analyze the cost of what you want to do. Okay. Also prioritize. There are some things that, yes, you might need to outsource, but it might not be time to outsource it. They might not be like urgent, and you can still manage yourself around it. So if you prioritize based on what your financial capacity can handle, you can place it in order of hierarchy. So maybe if we start this now, maybe we can look at how, what we can do next and all that. Do good research, like do research on what are the available options. Okay, find out the kind of research, the kind of, just do research. There are a lot of cleaning businesses. Your research will help you know which one fits into your budget when you already have a budget. So financially, you need to know what your pocket can handle, and look for people that fit into that budget capacity. Yeah.
Now, still on the financial aspect, now coming from a part of a brand expert and strategist that you are, someone who is earning 100,000, because you said something about prioritizing your what you want to outsource and looking at it holistically to say, okay, this and this. And he talked about timing also. Now with one who is receiving 100,000 and really wants to outsource, what are those strategic things you would advise? And comes to you and say, okay, I have 100K monthly coming in, but I can't see myself doing this, doing that, the dishes, the laundries. Even when you talked about having somebody within the locality that could make those, it still comes with payments. How would you advise such a person to start from a place of scaling, bearing in mind that what the person has is just 100,000? Or would you advise such a person to even outsource anything out? Would you say, no, you know what, still manage yourself around it until you get to that financial stability? At what point would you say, okay, you're a bit okay to start outsourcing some of these responsibilities when it comes to the family? Now I'm talking of husband and wife coming together.
Okay. I would say that you need to know what is most important to you as a family, to know what you need to outsource. Okay. And then beyond financial, sometimes there are people that can do the things for us. That's why we have friends and family. So if, for instance, if maybe you had 100,000 and one of the major stress you have is that you don't even have time for yourself, and you just need maybe like 1 hour or even a whole day to just have time for yourself, just just have a me time and rest, and you need somewhere to put your children, instead of paying someone to come and babysit or something, you can get a friend or a family or a grandma or somebody that can help you manage that space. So if your financial capacity might not handle some of these things, you might have. That's why we are blessed with friends and families. Really, maximize the people that are around you. Of course, not use people, okay, but it's not like you're going to have somebody that are constantly the one doing this. But you have people around you that you can, it's also part of asking for help, that can come through for you when you need certain things. So if you don't have the budget to like be consistent with outsourcing your, some of this responsibility every day, you can find someone that, once in a while just helps out. Once in a while, maybe you have a family friend you can take your children to, and so that you have time to rest or clean the house or cook. There might be a friend that maybe likes to cook. Ask the person, can we go to market together and cook together or something? And then you are not as mentally drained with that activity. So if you don't have the financial capacity, you can use have people around you, use your network to help you get a better capacity for things like that.
Use family around you. That brings it up to building a network, because you just said something. You say use your network. For someone who has not come to that place of building a network, how would you say that? And do you think that in this part of the world, in Nigeria where we are, we really embrace that attitude of outsourcing responsibilities? Because most people prefer a living person, come live with me and do everything. And in other parts of the world, you see people, pay people to quickly do the cleaning and then they go. So which would you, if you look at the scale of preference, you say, okay, I think this part of the world we are embracing outsourcing within the family unit. Now, without financial constraints being involved, you talk about grandmas, aunties, uncles. Do you think that that is a perfect support system that the family need when it comes to outsourcing responsibilities? And then your final word to our viewers, so we'll let you go back to that peaceful sleep you were having.
Okay, like I said earlier, I think that in Nigeria we do a good job of outsourcing compared to some other part of the world. Some other part of the world, it is do it yourself. There's a lot of DIY. You need to, even when you are fixing your car, there's no Mr. Kabiru that can fix your car for you. There are so many things that is pretty much hands-on. Get your job done by yourself. Okay, so I think that we're doing a good job outsourcing. We just might not like have the financial strength to, expand and do a lot of things. And yes, your network of friends and family are also come into play. That's why you need to also be able to, you should have people that you are in their goodwill, that you have done well to, yeah, you're in their good books, that you can always reach out to for help when you are in a tight corner. And that's why we have friends and family. So yes, they are a good option for outsourcing when you cannot do things yourself. I think my final words will be that your mental state or your mental strength is the most important thing at the end of the day. If you need to be alive to be able to be responsible. Okay, if you are not alive, you cannot be responsible in the first place. So it's important that you know how to ask for help, know when to ask for help, and delegate when it is beyond your capacity. There's no shame in asking for help.
Wow, thank you so much. What I've taken in all of this is it is when you are alive that you are going to do a whole lot. Thank you so much for joining us on the show all the way from Canada. That was Modupe Aremotobi. They are family friends too, family and values, Thank you so much. Have a peaceful rest as you take a bow. Thank you so much. All right, we have been discussing outsourcing, your capacity, strategic approach, and I had to add to life. And you heard it from our guest this morning. That is why when we talk about family and values, we talk about values, we talk about culture, we talk about community. You cannot be an island, you can't stand alone. She said something which is key. She said, be in the goodwill of people. A lot of people are not in people's goodwill. So when you call somebody and say, oh please I need, they say no, because if you're not there for somebody, nobody will be there for you. That's just the truth. So before you ask somebody, oh can you help me do this, can I drop my kids, how accommodative are you? So you see, this is one part of the country. She said something. She said, here you have assistance. In some parts of the world is do it yourself. Here, if your car breaks down, somebody is there to help you. You can quickly call a friend and say, oh please I'm going somewhere, can I drop this, can I do that? So be in the good will of people, and like our word of marvel said, do whatever you can do your best and outsource the rest. Life no hard, take life that is what I would tell you. Just like I just said, it is when you are alive you are responsible. Hey, anything outside that, my dear, forget it. No matter, and she did mention something about mental health. No matter how you do, if you break down, you've broken down. That's just the truth. So in all you're doing, look for low budget. She was emphatic, low budget. There are people around you that can quickly do that thing, and you give them small money, they are looking for it, just small change. Some will do it because you're a nice person. That is our message to you. Okay,